If you score a goal, celebrate the goal. I can't be doing all this. I played for this team 27 years ago. I had one 5-minute cameo for this club. I can't possibly celebrate. Just celebrate the goal. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Yahoo Footballing Weekly, also known as the Tottenham Comedy Hour, with Yahoo columnist Neil Humphreys.
And me, Yahoo editor Chia Keong. And coming back for a second time, Arsenal fan and Lion City's Sailors fan, Eddy.
Hello, smiling through the pain.
Yeah, smiling through the pain. And I'm smiling through the joy, the utter joy of watching Tottenham concede 5 goals in 21 minutes. And that's just me. But before we get on to that, should we kick off with Arsenal? What do you want to do?
We should. Well, quite a harrowing weekend for the Arsenal fans. I think 3rd draw in a row. And this one was like a rescue act. 3-1 down, rescued within the last 2 minutes, and they got a 3-3 draw against Southampton, which are the bottom club. So
6 points in 3 games.
6 points in 3 games drops, and now it's just the title is essentially out of their hands because if Man City were to win all their remaining matches, even if Arsenal win their remaining matches, you couldn't catch them up. But the one thing that's still left with like a strand of hope for the Gunners fans is they're facing Arsenal. They're facing Man City.
Yep.
Right this midweek.
Yeah. I mean, before we bring Eddie in, I'll just say on your point about Manchester City and Arsenal's chances generally, in the way that Manchester City signed Haaland to win the Champions League, Arteta signed Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus to give them the kind of title-winning nous, the ability to handle the pressure and the running now. This is what they were signed for. Zinchenko and Jesus right now for this. And it was very interesting in the previous game when they started to rouse the team. It wasn't Odegaard, who is the club captain. You remember, it was Zinchenko. He brings them in together. Come on, lads, we've got to do this. That's the Manchester City work ethic, mentality that Arteta signed those 2 players for. And if anybody's going to carry this team to the end of the season, Eddie, it's got to be those 2 boys. I mean, they were signed for a combined £75 million. That's what they were brought in for, and that's what they need now.
I think it's very interesting you picked up Zinchenko in the Man City documentary All or Nothing, filmed by Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah.
Zinchenko, I think surprisingly to a lot of us who are not Man City followers, was one of the more vocal...
Which is nearly all of us.
Was one of the more vocal presences in the Man City dressing room. And I wouldn't think that watching from outside. You'd think he's a utility, big part player, comes in, does his job, centre midfield, left back, whatever. But hey, this is a man who really rouses the troops, as you say. In Ukraine as well, in the national team, is a very big standing, not just footballingly, but also from a leadership point of view. So we are looking to him to do more of that. But at the moment, I think Zinchenko and Jesus are trying to do a bit too much, if you ask me. They would not say that they are turning in 8 out of 10 performances. I think right now it's like 6 out of 10. It's come at the worst possible time because we also have other first-teamers out of action. So
Saliba is a huge
And he won't be back for Man City. Yeah. He may not be back for the season now.
He may not be back for the season.
That's a big blow.
And it's a big blow. I think you look at Holding in the past few matches, right? Could you really pinpoint any instances and say, oh, Saliba was there, that would have happened? I wouldn't say so. But the differences are minute. So things like Saliba takes 1 touch and then he passes. Holding takes 3 touches, 4 touches. By the time he does that, the opposition has set themselves and it's much harder to break through. So small things like that, I think, and we talked about this before the show, right? To beat Man City over the course of a league season, you need to be perfect.
Yeah,
and
that's the key point.
Arsenal is falling short of perfect right now.
That's what I wanted to ask you. That's what I wanted to ask you, Eddie, because if I hear the word choked again in relation to Arsenal, how many games have they lost all season?
3?
3?
It's. I think it's 2 or 3. 3, right?
3,
Even if it's 3, that's not a team that's choked. Okay, they draw 3 games. That's unfortunate. There were defensive errors. There were uncharacteristic slips. But I wouldn't necessarily say, and I'm happy for you to disagree, that it was a collective choking. It was bad mistakes, bad judgment. It happens. The point is, Arsenal have been overachieving, as you correctly said, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 performances nearly the whole season. It's not sustainable for even Manchester City. But Manchester City can win games 6 out of 10. They can have Riyad Mahrez score a hat-trick and still comfortably win an FA Cup semi-final. Arsenal can't do that. They've hit 8 out of 10 levels. You know, if it was on that, it's in the red. You know, they're on that red sound volumeometer in the red zone for nearly the whole season. Even if it all falls away and they finish second, for me, they have not choked.
Yeah, and I mean, good point bringing up Mahrez. Mahrez has not been a confirmed starter for the past, 3 seasons? Yeah. And that's the quality they have off the bench.
Arsenal doesn't have it.
When Jesus got injured, and in fact, I'm surprised we're even at this position because Nketiah has had to deputise. He did an alright job. I mean, he didn't pull up trees or anything, but I'm surprised our season hasn't been over by now, actually.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I just do not accept that Arsenal have choked. I think you can, mental fatigue, yes, struggling with the pressure, yes, okay, but not choked.
Yeah, and I don't agree that it's a confirmed loss at Etihad this midweek.
No.
I think there's still a chance. I think you got to look back at 2002 when y'all won at Old Trafford to win the league against Sylvain Wiltord goal.
Yeah,
I think there's always that kind of. I mean, Arsenal can rely on past history and stuff to get themselves up. You know, to still go for one gun for one last hurrah just to try. I think there's still a bit of chance for them. Do you think that will happen?
I think Keong, and I hope I'm not too prophetic here, because on Friday before the match started, I told my friend I think Walcott will score tonight.
Wow.
And he did. Even though he's only scored once in 2 years, and
he did the whole minimal celebration. For God's sake, guys, if you score a goal, celebrate the goal. I can't be doing all this. I played for this team 27 years ago. I had one 5-minute cameo for this club. I can't possibly celebrate. Just celebrate the goal. Enough with the Wayang drama. Just celebrate the goal.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is that even if we pull off the impossible, say we beat Man City 2-0 tomorrow night. Wednesday night.
Still,
I think we'll draw more points. So I don't see it as that game being the be-all and end-all. And I really hope that Arsenal fans out there, if we do beat City but end up not winning the league, I hope we don't classify this as a chokage.
That is true.
The team tried.
That's tough. I just feel a little bit... When I saw Rob Holding being pulled apart by Antonio against West Ham, it became very clear that if you drag Rob Holding out of his natural conventional centre-back position, he does struggle a little bit. And if you think Antonio and then Haaland, that is man and monster. I mean, it's not even, you can't even compare. So the idea, if Antonio did that to Holding, you do wonder slightly, or worry slightly, what Haaland may do to Holding. And then you've got Grealish as well, who's in the form of his life at the moment. It's tough. But what do you think? Are we going to get a miracle? Can Arsenal still pull back and win the title? As always, send all of your comments to
Yahoo Southeast Asia on YouTube, Yahoo SG, Yahoo_MY on Twitter, and Yahoo SEA on TikTok.
Okay. Yeah. I want to get the Spurs. I really want to get to Spurs.
Do it first.
Before we get to Spurs, let's get them out of the way. I should say get them out of the way.
Okay, let's get it out.
Manchester City, since we've last had a podcast, they have moved a big step closer to a treble. Mm-hmm. The league title is in their hands. The FA Cup final is obviously in their hands. It's a Manchester derby. And then, of course, Champions League is the biggest one with Real Madrid. So what do we think? Is this good for the league? I know what you're going to say. We'll ask Keong first. Good for the league, bad for the league, terrifying for the league. Where do you stand on this?
It's a bit terrifying, isn't it? I feel like, is there any way we can stop this machine from grinding out? They're not at their best this season, The 2018 version where second season of Pep Guardiola, that season I can really say they swept past all opposition, dominated. That was the best version. This version was stop-start.
Yeah.
Sometimes they couldn't play well again with Haaland in, and then everything was a bit of a struggle midway through the season. And now they're just waiting for the other teams to not be as consistent as them, and then they just keep chugging out victories, 1-0, 2-0, 1-0, 2-0. And that's it. There's no memorable games you play against them. So it's a bit. I mean, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I've seen my team trying to outwit them for a couple of seasons and then just come up just short. And I know that during those seasons, our team just already are playing at their very maximum, like Arsenal are doing right now, and it's still a point short, and it's still a couple of points short.
Yep.
And you just wonder like how. I mean. Fine, I feel like we should also credit Pep Guardiola for, shaping out a very a modern attacking side that everybody wants to emulate. I think Arsenal's Arteta is one of his disciples anyway.
Yeah.
So, but the limitless resources really grinds you down, and then you just after a season like what's the point of us being hopeful at the start of the season when the end of the season the end product is Man City win again,
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, I don't know what you think, Eddie, but there was something really ominous and depressing about their FA Cup semi-final. It was an absolute formality before a ball was kicked. Football, elite football, should never be a formality. An FA Cup semi-final, in any circumstances, should not be a formality. There was never any sense of jeopardy, never any sense of fear. Yes, I know there was a gulf between the two teams. He did not put out his full strength side, not even close. Riyad Mahrez scores the first FA Cup semi-final hat-trick since 1958, and it just got a collective, who cares? Heck Keller, who cares, really?
Yeah.
So a historic hat-trick, nobody cares. And this is an indictment of Manchester City. Sorry, but it's true. Far too many empty seats.
Right.
Far too many empty seats for an FA Cup semi-final. I know the argument, they're in Manchester, it's London, they should not have to move around. Nothing about that occasion felt exciting, dramatic, interesting, engaging. It was a formality from start to finish. And when football becomes a formality, whether you're Liverpool, Arsenal, West Ham or anybody else, you've got to be worried. Elite competitive sport should never be a formality. And that's the problem I have with Manchester City.
Yeah, and then now you're wishing like, can Arsenal still beat Man City in the league?
Yeah.
Can Real Madrid beat him in the Champions League? Can Manchester United beat Man City in the FA Cup final? You are wishing that instead of hoping that Man City wins, does the treble.
I think it's interesting, but actually I hold a contrary view.
Okay.
So don't
fine,
shoot
fine.
me.
No,
Yeah, but I feel like, and there's a big caveat here, right?
Yep.
They're under investigation and everything.
Yeah.
But I feel that if the source of money is legitimate and they're not breaking any laws or rules, then I think that they're well entitled to act as they please, and this may be the result. So it then means that someone else should come in and do the same with another club, which I guess is what's going to happen with Newcastle and maybe Manchester United. And if this is not what the football's governing bodies want football to be, then they should change the laws.
So I get a point.
Yeah.
And you can't, there's been plenty of teams that have spent big in the past and have not been successful.
Chelsea.
Manchester United in recent seasons. Spurs, in a way, have lavished quite a lot of money on some pretty rubbish players. But in terms of Manchester City, your point that these other clubs should just do what Manchester City have done, they can't. They literally can't. There's only, I can count on one hand the number of oligarch, oil-funded city-states.
Oligarch.
They can't all buy EPL clubs. There's not enough. So nobody can do what Manchester City and Newcastle and probably Man U, if the Qataris buy them, can do. My fear is when that happens, there's always been a gulf. Even since I was a kid, there was always Man U and Liverpool and Arsenal and the rest. But it was here to here. It wasn't here to here. The gap now is a chasm. It's an unbridgeable chasm. And even if you change the rules, how can you possibly compete with sovereign wealth? The wealth of an entire nation is funding one football club. How can a Brighton or a West Ham or Wolverhampton Wanderers or anybody else, how can they possibly compete with that? Or even Arsenal for that matter. How can you compete with that level of wealth?
It'd be quite funny if the Premier League turns out to be just countries fighting against each other.
Well, it's a Super League now. It's already a Super League. It's already a bit of a closed shop Super League. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. And this is final point to make it sound like we're not whacking Man City. The problem is they do play great football. Pep Guardiola is a magnificent manager. De Bruyne, Grealish, Haaland, and Silva, they're all fantastic to watch. And I hate the way that those individuals are collectively being portrayed as villains when they haven't done a single thing wrong.
Yeah.
That's we must stress that point.
Yeah.
It's just that if you take a helicopter view and look down at this situation, it feels slightly tawdry, slightly unsavory.
Players, right?
That it's just not sustainable. And at some point, it may stop being fun. At no point was I interested in watching that FA Cup semi-final.
You don't find German leagues fun because Bayern Munich keep winning or PSG keep winning this French league. I can't even be bothered about the French league right now.
I mean, a good example, the other semi-final, Man U Brighton, it was 0-0, but it was actually a fun game.
Yeah,
it was a close game. It was kind of end-to-end. It was interesting.
There's drama.
The Man City game was an irrelevance.
Man City just brings the drama out of the winning.
Which is quite funny, I guess, because pre-season everyone said that Pep found the league so boring that he decided to give Arteta, Jesus, and Zinchenko.
It might as well. And look, I still
create his own rivals.
Having said all of this, I do actually kind of want Man City to win the Champions League because I think I do. I know you're shocked. I know, but I think Guardiola deserves it. I think their football deserves it. But I would kind of. I never thought I would say this, guys, but I'll be rooting for Man U in the FA Cup final. Nothing will make me laugh more than if their treble is denied by the only other team who's won a treble in English football. Let us know what you think, agree or disagree. But let's get
now my favourite part.
To the most important part of the show, the comedy that is Tottenham Hotspur. I always thought that Spurs, as I said in my column for Yahoo, available on all platforms, that nobody does Spursy like Spurs, but they have out-Spursied themselves.
This weekend was just
in recent days.
Magnificent.
Sorry, Daryl.
5 goals down in 21 minutes. Couldn't defend for toffee. Looked like bowling pins being scattered across the pitch.
Made a young girl get so
my daughter is a Spurs fan, left the room in disgust. It was the greatest night of my parenthood. Right? All of that. And then you sack the manager who you replaced after sacking the manager 4 games ago. How much Spursy does Spurs get before this fantastic farcical season ends? Brilliant.
I just want to see what comes after this nonsense. It's just. I mean, they're paying for years and years of bad decisions. I mean. Sacking Pochettino for one, really.
Yep.
From there onwards, it was like bad decisions all the way, even until Conte.
Then I forgot his name. They brought the manager from Wolves, didn't they?
Yeah, Nuno.
Didn't last 5 minutes.
Last 5 minutes, and we can laugh all we want.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
That's exactly what we can do.
Amid all the sniggers and stuff, I feel a bit sad for Harry Kane and Son Heung-min. Even Kulusevski. Outstanding players that people will remember. This generation of players, of fans will remember how good they are. And
you're a better person than I am.
And me.
I don't feel sad at all.
No, as I said in the column, Harry Kane is no longer the sort of loyal guy.
No,
he is the lone violinist on the Titanic, still playing on beautifully, impeccably. Nobody's watching anymore. There's utter chaos. Everyone is rushing for lifeboats, and he'll still do it. He's playing along. Kane, it's going down. The vessel is sinking. For heaven's sake, man, get in a lifeboat and save your career, for God's sake. No, Kane's got to show a bit of backbone now. He owes the club nothing. They owe him everything. They have practically, metaphorically slapped him in the face now. They've clearly made promises that have not been kept.
Yeah.
Yes, they spent 160 million in pre-season. As I say, hate the game, don't hate the player, whatever way round it is, Hate the game, don't hate the player. The fact that they spent 160 million and it's pocket change in the current market is just where we are. They did not back Conte. So just, as you said correctly, just to track it back a second, Tottenham hired the wrong manager at the wrong time. Antonio Conte was the wrong fit from day one. Yep. Why? Because Tottenham's transfer policy has generally always been buy them relatively cheap with the chance of selling them on as a profit and buy them young. And this goes back to Gareth Bale and anybody else you want to mention, right? Luka Modric and so on. You do not buy the finished product at Tottenham. It's never happened. You do not spend that 80, 90, and they don't want to go there anyway, but you don't spend the 70, 80 million pounds. You don't buy the Diego Costa type of players that he had at Chelsea, that 1 or 2 extra players that will get you to winning trophies. That's the way Conte has always managed clubs in Italy and England. Whether you agree or disagree, that's who he is. And they should have known that when they hired him. He's got one way of coaching and one way only. It was completely incompatible from day one. Then you sack him, fine. But you replace him with his underling. You don't just sack Conte, you replace him with a mini-me Conte. What did they think was going to happen?
And this is his past track record. Serie C, Italian Serie C, 3rd division. Managed 13 games in Serie C, won 3 times.
I love it. Out-Spursing the Spurs.
Yeah, it's not the first time, right? I mean, when they got Mourinho in, I mean, that's a cheap fix as well. You think that, he's a proven winner.
Correct.
But once again, I mean, is Mourinho really the right man for a Spurs setup? Or, Espirito Santo with his defensive football? Yeah. I think even Spurs fans themselves, when the managerial signing was announced, they were like, really?
This guy, I agree. Well, let us know what you think. Do you think that Spurs should continue to be Spursy? Yes. Do you think they should continue to be a pantomime for the rest of the season?
Yes.
Would you like the whole thing to collapse and fold like a cheap deck chair?
Please no. Liverpool can overtake them.
Should Harry Kane finally leave the club and join something and win something other than an egg and spoon race?
Come to LCS, Harry Kane.
He might as well. Send all of your comments too.
Yahoo Southeast Asia on YouTube, Yahoo SG, Yahoo_MY on Twitter, Yahoo SEA on TikTok.
Brilliant. Thanks as always, Eddie. And sincerely, I do hope you have a good end to the season with Arsenal. Thank you all for watching. And do come back for part 2 where we talk all things local football and Lion City Sailors. We've got lots to talk about. See you there.